And welcome, welcome, welcome. This is Peter Winnick. I'm the founder and CEO of Thought Leadership Leverage, and you're joining us on the podcast today, which is Leveraging Thought Leadership. Really excited today because we've got someone that checks pretty much every box out there. We've got Kevin Harrington, who is a shark, an entrepreneur, a thought leader, co-founder of EEO. I didn't realize that until I was reading his bio, and has had over 20 businesses that have grown to over $100 million. So instead of me talking about him, I'd rather talk to him. So welcome aboard, Kevin. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you, Peter. And when you said I'm a shark, you better define that, because sometimes people think of sharks as bad, okay?
There you go.
I'm an original shark from the show Shark Tank. Now, some of those guys are a little tough too, but I like to think of myself as a good shark, okay?
You're a good shark. Yes, you are a good, well, particularly with Shark Tank, you're probably one of the good sharks as well.
I always ask you, do you know why Kevin O'Leary calls himself Mr. Wonderful? Because nobody else will.
Yeah, I was going to say.
He's the only one that thinks so. Right?
Yeah. There's a little bit of irony in that. So anyway, you've done lots of amazing things in your career, right? So there's speaking, founding businesses, advising, television, etc. I want to just, for selfish purposes, talk about the increasing importance of thought leadership, maybe in each of those domains, or not, if you don't think it is.
You're talking about thought leadership in the world of entrepreneurship, right? Is that one of the things?
Yeah, I think it's the world of entrepreneur. I mean, my belief, and feel free to, go against that, is, we're all getting commoditized, whatever your business is, whatever your service is, whatever. And thought leadership is a great way to punch above your weight and avoid being commoditized by showing the world who you are, and as an individual and as an organization, what you're about, what you believe in, what you stand for, what you're doing different. That's sort of my thinking on it.
Yeah, I mean, I'll start by saying it. I started as a young entrepreneur. I'm going to go back almost 40 years ago. Just a quick history. And I'm watching television, and all of a sudden, I just ordered cable TV. I got 30 channels. All of a sudden, the channel I'm watching, Discovery, it's channel 30. It went dark. And I called the cable company and said, hey, something's wrong with my channel. They said, oh, it's 6 hours a day of darkness because it's only an 18-hour-a-day channel. So I said to myself, okay, what can I do with that 6 hours? Well, I started putting products on there. So that's how I started building businesses. And so I was a direct-to-the-consumer entrepreneur. We created these massive amounts of infomercials: Tony Little Fitness, Jack LaLanne and the Juicer, George Foreman, Billy Mays.
QVC, because this is a different world, right?
QVC, HSN, selling to all those guys. I mean, we had Tony Little on HSN. Yep. We had Tony Little in a dozen infomercials, doing billions of dollars in sales, by the way. So along the way, I said, hey, look, I'm becoming more of a thought leader in my world, because I was seeing the ups and the downs and the ups and the downs. And so I'll give you a good example. 10 years ago, I started seeing some things happening in my industry. Things were starting to slip. And what was happening is television viewership was starting to plummet. I mean, it's down by 60% from 10 years ago. And so I'm watching people going away from TV. Where are they going? Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, etc. So as a thought leader, I said to myself, wait a minute, I own AsSeenOnTV.com, As Seen on TV Inc., but my business is sliding. It's going away. What can I do? Well, know when to hold them, know when to fold them. Sold all those assets, hundreds of URLs, sites, hundreds of millions of dollars in cash flow that had come out of all of this, and sold it for a great opportunity to, I thought, maybe retire, but I didn't, because now my son came along, as we've talked about, and said, okay, it's now a digital marketplace.
Yes.
Facebook, Instagram. I said, follow the eyeball. So this was me as a thought leader saying, okay, I'm not in the I'm in the As Seen on TV business, but I'm in the business of connecting directly with consumers who want products. How can I connect? TV's not working. I had to find other places to go. And that's what I did.
So the thought leadership there is to some degree some trend spotting, to say everybody's got 17 screens, to compete with an infinite number of websites. So you just said, oh, there's got to be some attention to be had over there.
Yeah, so we saw people that used to watch TV 3-4 hours a day. Now they've cut the cord. 60 million people stopped using cable television. Why? Because they got tired of paying so much for it. And again, like I said, I was the guy filling a lot of the airwaves back then. So trend spotting was step one for me. And the good news is know when to hold them, know when to fold them, sold all the old assets and continued with the digital side of the business. And now we're running on Facebook and Instagram and all the major, kind of social media networks, including TikTok, LinkedIn, et cetera. I used to go to a few channels that broadcast to millions. Sure. Now I focus on millions of channels broadcasting to a few.
Right. So it flipped, right? So you've got to have multiple pieces there. Cool. Yes. So where else have you seen? So let's go back to maybe take a couple of steps back, whether it's to Shark Tank or other businesses that you found. In your business, it's about finding the consumer where they are and then supplying them with what they want in the way they want it at the right price point, right? When you're evaluating deals as an investor, what things are you looking at as a thought leader or hope that there might be some thought leadership embedded in the whatever?
So, I mean, look, I have a sort of a checklist of things that I look for as I'm running my day to day. But I like first thing, and let's say I'm on Shark Tank, someone's coming out, they're going to pitch me, right? What am I looking for? I want to first of all give me some kind of a problem solver that is solving a problem that's not already being solved. All right. So I say, is your product or service or business unique enough such that that there's no other product, service, or business that solves that particular problem in a similar fashion, right?
And if it does, how do you increase the volume to show people that?
Right. So
it's the better mousetrap.
If there's something that is similarly solving it, then I go to my next thing that is adding on functions. Okay. Mm-hmm. So if you have a singular function item that solves a great problem, you may do very well with it. But now let's add 2 or 3 more functions to it. Just to give you an example, here's an item. When I show it to you, you probably will say, what the heck is that? Okay.
What the heck is that?
Okay. What it is, it's a multiple step system that will clean your glasses. The first step, this comes out, get all the dust and the dirt off, 3 steps. All right. Now the dust and dirt's off. Now open it up. Now you got a double-sided carbon cleaning system that cleans both sides of your glasses simultaneously. That's step 2. Step 3, clean it in the electrostatic chamber. And now it's ready to go 500 more times. This is a product that solves a problem. It solves it in a unique fashion. Nothing like it. It's patented. And we've sold over $100 million worth of this item. So that's the kind of thing that I look for as an entrepreneur, something that's not already out there and a big problem solver in a unique fashion.
I love it. I love it. If you're enjoying this episode of Leveraging Thought Leadership, please make sure to subscribe. If you'd like to help spread the word about our podcast, please leave us a review and share it with your friends. We're available on Apple Podcast and on all major listening apps, as well as at thoughtleadershipleverage.com/podcasts. So you're in the media a lot, obviously, right? Today Show, New York Times, USA Today, etc. How is your building up your brand, the Kevin brand, helped you in terms of deal flow, access? Because you're not the only guy investing. You're not the only in a bad way, right? But talk about how that has given you a competitive advantage when they want to bring you on as a go-to guy to talk about something in the market.
So it's a great story. I got invited to hang out with Richard Branson down in Necker Island a few years ago, and it was 10 plus years ago. And so I went down, didn't know what to expect, but I got some one time with Richard, and he's like, Kevin, he said, you've done some pretty cool stuff. You did that. You're the S. Seaman PV guy, Billy Mays, Jack LaLanne, that George Foreman guy. I love watching all that stuff. He said, but then here he's going to come at me. But you never built your brand. You built all those other brands. And so I said, well, you're right, Richard, but hey, I made money, didn't I? He's like, yeah, but what about the continuity, the future? The world's changing. So I said, okay, so I should build my brand. How do I build my brand? He said, you got to create content. He said, I'm out there as Richard Branson, the entrepreneur's entrepreneur, flying around in hot air balloons and having fun and, connecting and speaking. Says, you need to be speaking. You need to create content, write books, boom, boom. I came out of there, went back home, wrote my first book. I started doing radio talk shows. I did 10, I did 20, I did 100. You know who called me? Mark Burnett from Shark Tank. Kevin, I'm seeing you everywhere. I'm doing this new show called Shark Tank. Can I talk to you? Would you come meet me in Los Angeles? I mean, raising my profile actually got me on Shark Tank, because until then, nobody knew who in heck I was. But I religiously,
because you were behind the camera,
behind the scenes. I mean, I'm shooting all these infomercials. Nobody saw me, and so it opened up my world in a big, big way.
Well, and then Shark Tank is another flywheel, right? So now you're on Shark Tank, and then the Shark Tank flywheel, and then I would imagine one of the benefits of that is the deal flow. There are people coming to you outside of Shark Tank world to say, "Hey, Kevin, know who you are."
I did 175 pitches on Shark Tank, which is quite a bit. Invested in dozens of deals and had a lot of fun. But now those shows are in syndication. They're rerunning them every week. All my episodes run all around the world on a weekly, monthly basis. Those 175, and so my deal flow is pretty crazy. It's thousands of pitches that I take a year. And I have been for years. I mean, I've taken over 50,000 pitches in my life now. And every single year we take thousands still. So, and so now I get a chance to pick from, when you got a couple thousand things to pick from, you can find some pretty good needles in the haystack there.
I would think. Right. So that's the flywheel piece. Interesting. Yeah. Anything that you would advise a typical entrepreneur, whatever that means, because they're all pretty atypical, who is thought about, because we work with several entrepreneurs where they've been thinking about a book, or I don't really need it, whatever. And then they sort of get in the mode and say they want to justify it, and it has to be fun. Like, talk to them about maybe the process and the benefits for them. For you, it's deal flow. For someone else, it might be standing out from the crowd, or it might be elevating their brand. But what should they be thinking about?
Well, my book is called How to Become a Key Person of Influence. And there's a 7-step system to being the most sought after person in your industry. And a few of the steps, one of the main steps, we're kind of talking about it, but it's raising your profile. All right. It's writing books. It's putting out content, creating videos. By the way, I sit and I talk to entrepreneurs, and I was recently at a conference, 1,000 entrepreneurs in the room. And I said, okay, how many people in here have their own podcast? Let me see a show of hands.
Right.
3 people out of 1,000 that do their own. How many people have ever been on a podcast? Probably had about 50, 60 hands. And I'm like, what? I mean, I don't understand. The podcasting, this is a way to connect. And so when I launched my last book called Mentor to Millions, I agreed with the publisher up front. I said, I'll do, how many podcasts do you want me to do? He said, will you do 100? And I said, yes. And my very first one, I said, who's the number 1 podcast in the world? They said, well, that's arguably amongst a couple guys that will argue over that. But, if you Google it, Adam Carolla shows up as the most downloaded podcast. So I said, okay, I know Adam. I know who Adam Carolla is. Never met him. Shot a video. Hey, Adam, it's Kevin Harrington. I've got a new book, Mentor to Millions. I've had a lot of mentors that have shaped my life. I'm sure you've mentored a lot of people. How about we share some stories on your podcast? I'd love to come on and be a guest on your show. Within 3 hours, boom, I'm booked.
So the beauty of that is there's a time to have your own podcast, and then there's a time to be on others, and they're not mutually exclusive.
Absolutely.
So what Carolla did is what you don't have. He's got distribution and audience and whatever. All you need to do is be engaging and charming for 20 minutes. Not that difficult, right? And he's got the audience. And if you do that 100 times, holy cow. And then, part of the beautiful thing about podcasting is it's so niche now. It's so targeted. So if you wanted to go after entrepreneurs with businesses of a certain size in the Midwest, bang, there's podcasts. Any niche you want, there's 100 podcasts. And it doesn't, Carolla is a pretty high bar, but for most of them, it's actually pretty easy to get on their show.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, once I got on Adams, everybody else was like, let me see this,
Yeah.
This is a great interview. Right. And by the way, the publisher, after we did the 100, I said, hey, I'll do another 100. We did 200 podcasts, and it's a big win. CNN and CNBC and all the big networks and everything. But we hit number 2 on Wall Street Journal bestseller list,
which is great.
USA Today, et cetera. So, I mean, the reality is this: for those that are out there that want to become a key person of influence, as you raise your profile, what are you doing? You're building your brand. You're speaking. You're writing content. You're putting out videos. You're on podcasts. Maybe you have your own podcast. So you can't do it just sitting at home expecting your phone to ring, right? You got to get out there and make it happen, Peter. You know that, right?
Well, and then, there's nothing wrong with television, as we were talking about before, but there's a lot of old school PR that's still pitching for the fences, right? Listen, it's great to be on the Today Show, but the reality is in this market, it doesn't move books. If you were, I would argue that the 100 or 200 podcasts that you did, there's probably a direct connection. You could watch as those podcasts are released, your Amazon sales. There's literally a direct connection, right? And if you didn't do those, we can't do that A/B test, but we would know, the book probably wouldn't have done nearly as well.
Yeah, no, exactly. I mean,
cool.
Go ahead.
Well, this has been awesome, Kevin. It's always interesting to have someone so low energy on, where I've got to do all the work and try to make this engaging. It's been, maybe next time an espresso or a Red Bull to kick it up.
Want me to get ready for you next time?
Yeah, get ready next. I appreciate your time. I appreciate you sharing with us. Any final words of wisdom to anyone out there?
Well, part of my 7-step system, I say to folks, don't be ashamed or afraid to go get a mentor. I also use another term. I say building a dream team. And so a quick story. We were doing a beauty project. I had and someone said, well, Kevin, but you're a gadget guy. You did, you do walks and mixers and grills and whatever, right? But I said, I need a beauty guy. So I found through my sources and referrals, I found a guy used to be the president of L'Oreal Beauty, ran a $5 billion company, L'Oreal USA, president, and retired after 10 years. And he lived on Clearwater Beach. He's in his final years. And I'm like, hey, but would you be interested? I got a hold of him. I got a hot new project and brought him into a deal. And so he said, well, look, I get $1 million a year if you want to hire me. And I said, no, I just need you 2 days a month. How about, can you work for 10 grand a month? And he's like, 10 grand a month, 2 days, 5 grand. For you, I really love the product. Let's do it. I said, well, now let me tell you how we're going to pay you. There's no money in the account yet. We're going to go raise the money. And once we raise the money, you'll get paid retroactively to month 1. So he's like, you know what? You look like a good guy. Let's do it. So what did I do? I brought the president of L'Oreal into a company that I was raising money for, that used his resume to go raise $8 million and then retroactively pay him for his expertise. And it said, this is creating a dream team. So let's do it. This is what I do with every company that I get involved with. I'm on 9 public boards and advising another couple dozen companies. So get yourself a great dream team, experts, surround yourself. And some of these experts are the younger population, these kids that know digital marketing. Like I've got a 32-year-old son, he knows digital marketing. And so these kids, 25, 28, 30, sometimes you got to go younger even to get some of these experts. But build yourself a dream team and you can make it happen.
I love it. Thanks, man. Thank you so much.
All right, Peter. Good seeing you, buddy. Take care.
To learn more about Thought Leadership Leverage, please visit our website at thoughtleadershipleverage.com. To reach me directly, feel free to email me at peter@thoughtleadershipleverage.com. And please subscribe to Leveraging Thought Leadership on iTunes or your favorite podcast app to get your weekly episode automatically.